Elliot here. I have Frankie Renault, and we're going to do a really kick-ass talk today about when you fall from grace, when stuff happens, life throws a curveball at you, life drops you on your head. There's a major identity shift, either an injury, something bad happens health-wise, you get laid off, you need to leave a certain job or position, you need to leave someone or something, or Frankie's case, and he'll tell us about it, when you have a big injury, professional athlete has a big injury, fall from grace, and he has to do something different. So welcome, Frankie. Welcome, brother.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here.
Pleasure to have you. So you and I, you and I were talking, you and I know each other. I wanted to have you on the show because you were a pro football athlete, and tell us about that. You tore your ACL and had it again. This was your big fall from grace, but tell us a bit about that. How this happened? What happened?
Yeah, so I talk about how in my life, I guess the vehicle for me to get through a lot of my childhood, and when I say get through, I mean, like, we all talk about it and maybe have a hard time articulating it, but surviving our childhood to a degree. Football was the vehicle. It allowed me to travel the world, or at the very least Canada. It allowed me to travel Canada, and it provided me an opportunity to really capitalize on and master my strengths. And I can talk about many strengths, but just to name a few: the ability to overcome adversity, to push through and become a master at something. And so football was, it meant a lot to me, and it still does. But what I really talk about and touch on is how in 2015 I had experienced my first very major injury. So I tore my ACL in 2015. It was at an all-star game, and it was a very memorable moment, primarily because when I got hurt, I ended up getting hurt on punt team, and I wasn't playing for the majority of the game up to that point because I started the game, and I started the game because I showed up at the beginning of the week and nobody knew me, and then I made a big play, and then all of a sudden it was this thing. But in any case, I injured myself, and in that moment, I realized that I'm not just a football player. I'm more than. But I was young. It was 2015, and flash forward to a few years later, after I overcame the recovery and was now on the active roster for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Sure enough, it happened again. And week 6, we were going out to play BC. I tore my ACL again. And this was the moment when the fall from grace happened. A few months after surgery, doing rehab, it hit me. I had a moment of, wait a second, I got injured again. They don't talk to me. What's going on? And then it just kind of snowballed into, who am I? I'm not a football player anymore, and all these things. And we mentioned it when we were talking before. My shell cracked. The ego no longer had something to attach itself to, and that for me was the beginning. And now I can articulate it as the beginning, but at the time, what I thought was the end.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. And that's the thing. I like how you say that, and about how you think is the end is just the beginning of something new, right?
Yeah, that's something, and like we've all heard of it. And I think of Harry Potter, when Harry goes to visit Dumbledore in his office and he sees the Phoenix, and that's like I think of the story of the Phoenix. And so what's really important now for me to understand that in that moment where I felt like it was the end and it was death, it was simultaneously the beginning and a new life being reborn. And so for anybody, just a little nugget for anybody who may hear this, I invite you, as I remind myself, into thinking like that fall from grace maybe isn't a fall as much as it is, you're being repositioned, realigned, and being put in a place where you can be reborn. And now, again, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's why I love being in this position, is because I can articulate it, and I'm on the other side, and I can say that without shame or guilt or fear. Because should I fall again, I understand that it's another cycle. It's another beginning. And I know that now, and it's affirmed, and it's deeply entrenched in me. And what I do know and what I can sympathize with is at that point that I wasn't aware of that. And so I know there's people that may hear it and say, well, you don't know. And the truth is, I don't know. I don't know from your perspective. But what I do know is that now I have the experience and I can talk about it.
I like that. That because you're right. A lot of people, when something happens, whether it's a job loss or a layoff or something happens in their family, whatever it is, a health diagnosis, a major health crisis, a death, anything.
Mm-hmm.
Something the way I know someone, he used to work on the crab boats, making a lot of money, fishing for crab, making tons of money, but his back breaking work, and again can't do it anymore. So what does he do now? It's like that identity shift, that fall from grace, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us have that. I mean, during COVID, before, during, after COVID, a lot of people, lots of jobs were laid off or no longer resonate with what they're doing now, and we have this great resignation thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been interesting because there's this fall from grace. It's like, okay, this is not what I want to do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And even myself, I've had different shifts and falls from grace in my own business, and the universe or life or God or whatever showing me that, okay, this isn't the way, James. You need to go over here. And it does that really interesting, sometimes painful ways to get our attention. I mean, I feel pain, pay attention. So it's interesting that it does it in weird and wild ways. But to your point, many people fall from grace in our work world, our business world, in relationships too. Maybe it's a divorce or someone cheats or something, or that that you got to leave. You got to leave. It's not working anymore. And I love how you said when you think it's the end, it's really just the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I honor that it's scary. It's scary as hell. I've been there, and you you lying on that bed. And what was that thing? Because you said to me earlier, lying on that bed and realizing what?
Yeah, it was just realizing that this life, this path could no longer be continued. And what was so hard to I guess handle was this there was a need to let go. And I remember there was a very powerful moment where I was on the phone with somebody in my life, and I just said, and it was weird, like I had this, and it was a very real physical experience, but as I was going through it, I almost like I put a stamp on that moment because I was like, there's something important about this. And I almost like I was frozen, and I had this water bottle and I couldn't let it go. And the reason why I bring it up is like I physically couldn't let go of the water bottle. I was struggling to just let it go. And I share this because I think that's kind of a metaphor for a lot of the things that happen in our life. Is I couldn't let go of being a football player for such a long time. And we can't let go of certain things, whether it be a partner or just anything. It's hard to let go. Yeah. And that attachment for me was really what made it so challenging in that moment. It was my attachment to, I must be this football player. That's who I am, and this is my cat. So just gotta say hello. There was this attachment, and it took time to heal, and it took time to separate the two. That my worth and my being is not just as a football player, but just everything and all the tools that I've cultivated in becoming the football player. And so when I've been able to heal and let go of that, it's allowed me to start receiving all the lessons that I've learned from the experience. And so again, that's why we get to sit here today and talk about it.
I love it, man. I love it. I mean, that's great because a lot of people, you're right, whether it's whatever happens, whether it's a health diagnosis or someone, I had someone say to me one time, I was mentoring him. He was very overweight, and his doctor's like, you're going to lose weight or you're going to die. And so he said, James, I don't know who I'm going to be if I'm not this, fat, broken, sick guy. And I've had many people say that to me, many people, or I've had a woman say to me once, if I'm not the mom anymore, who am I, right? Who am I? Or if I'm not this or not that, or not broken or not victim, who am I? Or if I'm not the big, powerful corporate bigwig, who am I? And my response is anyone you want to be.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And it can be hard because you're right. Their whole identity, I think it's a mistake, but their whole identity is tied to that thing. I mean, just like when I was in corporate, I made a lot of money. wasn't doing something I loved at that time, made a lot of money, and was traveling all over the US and Canada. It was really cool, met a lot of great people. However, what I was doing didn't really fulfill me. And it was really interesting because I had my fall from grace. I was laid off twice from two big companies in the height of my career. I won President's Club Award, and they sent me down these awesome trips and paid for all kinds of cool stuff because I'd done so well. But again, life shows you, whether it's layoffs or recessions or whatever, restructuring or whatever the nonsense, it shows you a way. And I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? Because my identity was tied, and my worth was, okay, I made a lot of money. And I think a lot of people got to be very clear my role. Oh, I'm a territory executive and leader of this and that and all this stuff. And we tie that to our worth, or the amount of money we make. We tie that to our worth. And look at me, I have all this money, I have these cars or these whatevers. And I think it's going to be very dangerous, because when that goes, your sense of worth will go, which is a mistake, because our worth is not tied to any of that. It's not really tied to any of that. That's all bullshit. It's all the show and the flash. Most people, which don't care about anyways, the real people you want to be around don't care about anyways. So it was an interesting fall from grace, making all this money and then going to student again when I start my business. But it was the best thing I've ever done, scariest and best thing I've ever done. And I think I'm curious if you agree that this fall from grace was one of the scariest, but also one of the best things that ever happened to you.
Yeah, I 1000% agree. And what I was going to also ask you and get your perspective on too. So I think about, like, we talk about God in the universe and a higher power, and this idea of like letting go and faith,
surrender,
surrender, all these things, right? So, when that job, that high paying job, it's being stripped away from you, that football player is being stripped away from me. It hurts, and it hurts so much. What the relationship, the pet, the family member, whatever, it's being taken away, and it's hard. It's so hard. And then I think about, well, if this higher power always has my best interest in mind, and it's essentially, quite frankly, it sees the future, if you will, because it's aligning me to whatever's best for me.
Fair.
It's hard to see now because my attachment to whatever this thing may be, but like time and time again, it's proven that the outcome, the future, that moment that we can only experience in that moment, it usually works out, because
I agree. It sucks.
It
things that sucks in the moment, that for sure.
It's
awful in the moment.
It's painful. And like, well, I feel like it's easy to say, like, oh, just let it go, but like it's hard, and then that brings up the discussion of ego and its its purpose to protect us, and that's a whole other big conversation.
A whole nother life.
And that brings in, like, now we're talking about layers of our subconscious. Okay, here we go. Anyway, I guess back to your original question is, like, it's hard to let go, and it's hard to move forward, but maybe, just maybe, it's the most beautiful thing for us. And then we talk about this idea of living in peace. Maybe living in peace is, when it is crumbling, being at peace and being able to teach ourselves that that's okay. What do you think?
I think you're right. And you mentioned earlier too, when you had this fall from grace, the injury, you decide, you're like, okay, I'm no longer a pro football player. Holy crap. And you mentioned you felt alone and scared. I'm curious, because I learned a lot of lessons about surrendering, letting go. And instead of holding on to this thing with all our might and being in victimhood and I'm not going to let this go, whether it's a relationship or a job or a health thing or whatever, it's amazing how much you learn about surrender. Okay, I trust the universe or life or the trust the process or God or whatever it is you believe in, or whatever this thing is going on. Life is trying to show me my brain is not for me anymore. And I think instead of doing like your cat, like a 4-paw spread, if you're trying to put it into one of those cat carrier things and having that resistance, or someone clawing at the door trim, avoiding going through that door. I think surrendering, and it can be challenging, I'm not saying it's easy, but surrendering and letting go, and like just going with the flow, like you're going down the water slide of the river. Instead of fighting it, it's impossible to fight a raging river. You're going to run out of steam. Going with the flow and being excited and curious where it will take you. I think that can help, and that helped me a lot. What did you learn a lot about what did you learn about reaching out when this happened to you? Are we reaching out, asking for help, getting out of your ego, surrendering to the shifts of this brave new world? What were some of your big learnings that people can take away about surrender, growth, and asking for help, finding people, finding great people, or finding people that are like, or that are who they want to be like? I want to be like them. I'm going to hang out with, find people that are entrepreneurs, or that are business leaders, or speakers, or that are healthy, or whatever, and great relationships. What did you learn about that? That alone, scared, and then the surrendering and letting go, asking for help. Tell me about that.
Yeah. And so, to the point of the surrender aspect, just what came up as an analogy with my cat, as you brought up too. So cats, I think, are a great lesson for surrender, because if my cat wants to go, it's going to go. And if I hold on tight to it, it's going to scratch me, and it's still going to go. So it's like, if I hold on, it's still going to go. And like, it's good. That's what it's going to do. And then it'll come back, and eventually, and it's actually happier when it comes back on its own, as opposed to me holding it hostage. So there's a bit of peace to that. And so that's a little lesson on surrender.
You're probably happier too when it comes back, and you're not scratching, holding on to it.
Yeah. Now it comes back because it wants to, not because I'm holding it hostage. And so that's cats. Now, when it comes to asking for support and reaching out, it took me a long time to take this in, because from my childhood, I spent a lot of time lone wolfing, and lone wolfing meaning doing everything on my own. I forget what they call it, but hyper independence. I was alone. It was a learned behavior from childhood, asking for support, being rejected, and really identifying with this story that I must do everything on my own, because when I ask for support, I'm rejected. And the long short of that is that we are not, like, people want to support us. We might just be asking the wrong people.
Right on, brother.
Yes. The harsh truth about that may be that the people that we're asking, who are close to us, they've got their stories about why they don't want to help. But as we get older, we must unlearn what we've learned as children. And so the hardest thing for me, as I was getting through my funk in 2018, 19, and going into 20, was that I was still doing everything alone. And for the majority of 2020, I only began to learn asking for support. And I have a moving company, and in my moving company, it wasn't going to grow beyond what I was capable of working, because I can only do so much. I can't do a 12-hour job and do an estimate in the same day.
Yeah, right on.
But what I can do is I can ask for support and enroll people, enlist people in supporting me to do the work, and I can do the estimates and grow. And so it happened. And that's a small example of in business, but just in life. If I don't communicate what I'm looking for support in, if I don't communicate who I am, if I don't speak outside of me of what's going on inside, I'll never be able to connect with people, because they can't read my mind, and they can't do anything for me unless I ask. And that goes in so many ways. It goes for me asking for support. I have my employees, young men I work with, I let them know, like, I literally cannot do anything for you unless you ask, because if I do what I think is best for you, you're going to resent me for it.
That's actually a really good point. And that's and just asking for help. I think we're for, you're right, for a whole other myriad of reasons, whether, if I ask for help, that means I don't have the crap and programming. That means I'm weak, or I'm not strong, I'm not smart, or all that, whatever the crap is, and that we're told, or that our subconscious is holding. It's all nonsense, because no one achieves greatness in life. No one ever has achieved greatness in life all on their own. I can guarantee it. Steve Jobs, Oprah, whoever, Sir Richard Branson, Elon Musk. Elon's a great example. He's so smart. He hires very, very smart and very talented people. He could have done all this on his own either, and neither can any of us. And that's, humans, I think, are very social creatures, and we need each other. And we need to, like I said, ask for that help and ask for that support. If something is going wrong, instead of, turtle shelling or hiding, like a lot of us do, because we're embarrassed, either you're talking to the wrong people if they really are going to judge you. And if they're good friends and good people, they probably are not going to judge you. And they are going to want to help. I want to help. I give my friends shit, or my colleagues, I give them guff when they don't come to me when I know something's very wrong. It's like, let's fix this. Help me support you however I can. You need to ask or tell me, and you need to tell me what I need, because you're right. I don't know exactly what you need. I can help. I'm pretty talented, but it's like, what you need, how can I help? What help do you not want? But it's like going and getting out of that ego and surrendering, and then you can grow. I think ego can be helpful. Ego can help you achieve things, but also unchecked ego, or worrying about your frailty, ego, or worrying, heaven forbid, about what other people think about you, is literally the death of growth and progress and happiness. And that was one of my biggest lessons, is to stop worrying what people thought about me, and stop. I know it's not permission to be an ass, but it's do it. Be yourself. Be a great person. Make a difference. And avoid worrying if someone doesn't like your Facebook video, or your clothes, or the way you dress, or the way you talk, or what you believe in, or who cares? Yeah. Are they going to be around in 6 months, in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? Is that helping you get to where you want? Is it making you happy? If not, stop hanging out with them, or at least stop worrying about what they think about you, and just you be you. You give your best. You be authentic, because that's going to do two things. It's going to have the right people for you, resonate with you, and be attracted, come in your life. It's going to have the wrong people go away. And again, the cool third thing is it's going to help you be more successful as well. And the fourth thing, it's more fulfilling, way more fulfilling to be you and be authentic than do what we think we should do or must do, or have to please people, or the economy, or the government, or our parents, or religion, or culture, or social circle. Yeah. Be you. Being someone else and a fake facade is exhausting. It's also very expensive.
It is.
Like cars, it can be very, very expensive, this facade.
Yeah, absolutely. You said so many valuable things there. And in everything that you shared, it's so funny, because like each point has its own field of discussion, which is so cool, because when we talk about this idea of owning our power and really being empowered, we are so complex and deep and intricate. And I almost feel like if we don't give ourselves the opportunity and the gift really of diving into that and going under the surface and opening the doors and peeling back the layers, we often don't get to discover our power and go wherever we get to go, and speak how we choose to speak, and be who we want to be, as opposed to who society wants us to be. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. You're right. Or how our parents or culture or whatever told us we should be, or what we made this mean. This something happened when we were younger. We made it mean something, and I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart, I'm not good at this and that, or this is not going to work, or something fails once, and we decide, oh, this is not going to work, or I can't do this, or I'm not blank, I'm not this, I'm not that, which is a shame, because in life there's lots of failure, aka learning lessons. The only time you really fail is when you give up. If you never give up, you never fail. You learn. I've had lots of stuff blow up incredibly. It's spectacular blow ups in my
the most beautiful blow up, right?
Exactly. Business, personal health, you name it. And it's been very interesting. And I acknowledge and honor that it's not easy. I've had a hard life. You have as well. I've also had a wonderful life, a very wonderful life as well. I've learned a lot and grown a lot. And I promise you this, and I'd like to hear your last comment in a minute before we conclude. But my thing is, it is scary as hell sometimes, and you still have to face it and go through it. And I promise you, you will be a transformed person on the other side. You will be completely, I don't want to say different, but empowered. When you push through that thing that scares you, run towards the thing that scares you most. Run towards, literally, run towards your fear. Everything in your brain and body is going to say, no, run away. And if you want what you want in life, you want to be happy and successful and fulfilled, you need to run towards what scares the hell out of you. You really do. You really do.
Oh, yeah. And, I as you're saying that, I'm thinking about what we're doing in this moment. And I talked to you before this, and I said I was nervous about doing this and going live. And here we are, we're doing it. and it's affirming to me. They're like, dude, just pop it on live and go for it. Like just do the thing.
Right on.
And I think of when you were sharing, I thought of all the people that I've seen in my life and all the stories they made up about how only bad things happen to them. And the truth is like, we're all struggling in some way.
Yeah.
Bad things are happening to all of us.
You're right.
What differs and what separates the people who overcome and the people who don't is your choice on how you're going to look at bad things happening to you. And it's empowering. Even that statement is a choice of how you can look at it, because somebody will say, well, my life is awful and that's it. And somebody else might say, thank you for reminding me that I can choose the mindset of how I'm going to look at everything.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
It's a choice. It's so cool. We have a choice, and it's our opportunity to be empowered for when things happen. They happen for us, not to us. And that's a whole different world.
Right on, brother. Yeah, and you're right. Things exactly, they happen, well, for us. Like you said, this is setting you up for what you want in your success and what your purpose is in the future. So embrace it. Ask, how is this good? Ask, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this, no matter how bad it is? And again, I honor that some things can really totally suck in life. I honor that. But still asking, how can I be better? How will this help me overcome? Or what will this help me do? Will I be unstoppable when I get through this crap? And right.
You will. Yes.
Exactly. This has been awesome. We got to have you back on here. Any last thought real quick for anyone? Any last thought based on what we're talking about? Fall from grace, how to get past it?
Yeah. Okay, let's look at it this way. The fall from grace is going to happen over and over and over again in our life. Instead of being resistant to the fall, get ready to land and keep going. And the story of the Phoenix, it's happening over and over again, just different ways. Life is happening for us. I'm getting amped up just talking.
I love it. That's amazing. I love it. Like the Phoenix, you rise from your ashes, right?
Yes.
Something blows up and burns up or whatever.
Yeah.
That's okay. Life happens to all of it. It sucks. And instead of being a victim, because like I said, you will get what you pay attention to. There's a lot of crap in life. You focus on the crap. Oh, life's so bad. This is that, and it's not my fault. It's all this. Or you look at all the good stuff in life and say, I take control of all this stuff. Yes, this happened, or yes, it's happening. I take control and I take responsibility of where I want to go and what I want to have, versus pointing fingers and blame. And it's not my fault. I can't do anything about it and all that bullshit. It's no matter what happens, take responsibility and take control and go after what you want. And that's how people win in life. That's how people succeed. And it's a shame only about 7% of people in life really give that hell and give that their best. And that's really 7% on average are people who really achieve their big goals in life. It's a scary figure.
Yeah. But maybe that's why we're here and we're doing this, right? Because truthfully, it's for everybody. Right. Success and overcoming is not for the few. It's for everybody. It's just a choice. And maybe this one nugget will be the one, but there's people out there with their own nuggets for their people. And our goal is to make it so everybody reaches their potential and beyond.
Right. It's the truth, brother. Truth, man. Thank you very much for being on. We got to do this again. We got to have you back on here.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
This was amazing, man. This is amazing. A lot of fun. And to your point earlier, if something makes you nervous or scares you, do it, because it's a sign that you probably need to do it. If something wasn't important or you didn't care, you probably wouldn't be nervous or anxious about it. So that's a sign it's important. And when you do it, you're like, oh, this was easier. That was a lot. You ever done that? This is a lot easier. That was a lot easier than I thought. Or that was not a big deal. Or wow, do I ever feel powerful now? I did that. I am freaking amazing.
Yeah, we're doing it right now.
Well, right on, brother. Exactly. So this is Frank Renaud. You can reach him, frank.renaud@live.com. On pretty much any social media, you can reach him at Frankie Renaud as well on any social media. Thanks for being here. And
I appreciate it.
Pleasure having you, brother. Amazing pleasure interviewing you. Take care, everyone.